Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 1796 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Normal Vol fan, joined alongside with my boy Ryan. Well, Tennessee wins the SEC championship in the regular season. No co-champions, in my opinion. And they win the whole SEC tournament. Huge for the Tennessee Volunteers to come up after losing the first game to Vanderbilt 13-4. I don't think anyone thought Tennessee was just going to walk right into the finals and win. But all around clutch games late in the tournament for Tennessee. But Ryan, I want to get your overall opinion on the way Tennessee looked this weekend in Hoover.
Yeah, I mean, we said it last week. The team with the best depth on pitching, or whoever's pitching staff is going to win. And lo and behold, it turned out to be the Tennessee Volunteers. And other than that, I mean, you found out a lot of things that will help us come this coming weekend. I mean, a ton of pitching opportunities now with A.J. Russell being back, a ton of players coming into their own or getting hot at the right time hitting. Hunter Inslee is who I'm thinking of there. And we could go on and on. I mean, but the overall to me is that the pitching stepped up, which has been the main concern for Tennessee fans this entire year.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of names that you wouldn't expect. I mean, even from today's game against LSU, Dylan Lloyd comes in after A.J. Russell and just shoved. He was pitching really well. Honestly, he probably could have went a little bit more, but they're trying to, save the arms for this weekend. And, overall, this team is just, I love this team. I don't know what it is. You could just tell they have so much heart. They want to win. They play hard. And like I said before, I don't think anyone thought Tennessee was just going to come out of the losers bracket and win this whole thing. And they did. They had a lot of clutch moments. And we're going to go game by game, but it all started with Vanderbilt the first game, and they beat us 13-4. And I want to get your thoughts on that game for sure.
Yeah, the main takeaway for me there is that Tony Vitello obviously did not want to shake anything up with, the pitching routines, what people are used to at this point. And you basically had a midweek pitching plan against an SEC opponent, and you got what you got. I mean, Vanderbilt hit 5 home runs, and, that's not what they do, but it is what they do when you're throwing some guys that don't get in the game too often. I mean, Tennessee threw 8 pitchers that game, and the offense just wasn't able to keep up. I mean, that's a tall task to ask your offense to get 13 runs, so not too surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. That game was like an early shut-off. Everyone knew it was over, which turned out to be no big deal for Tennessee. Then they went on to play Texas A&M, and Texas A&M is a really, really good baseball team, a top 4 team in the country, probably going to be a top 4 seed in this NCAA tournament coming up. And Tennessee played really well this game. They beat them 7-4. The main guys did what they had to do. Christian Moore had 3 hits, an RBI, and a run. I mean, you couldn't ask for more, But what'd you think about this one?
Yeah, so against A&M, you got back to one of your weekend pitching plans with Stamos and Kazi, and they did what they do. And Tennessee's offense played a little bit better. And you mentioned Christian Moore. I mean, Kavares Tears also, huge game in that one. Like I think it was 3 hits, double home run, single, and the home run was a huge 3-run home run in the 7th inning to put us ahead. I think it was 4 runs at that point, or 3 runs at that point. But anyway, he had a huge game. And like you said, A&M is nothing to sneeze at. They're probably going to be a top 5 national seed, if not top 4, top 3. I mean, they're a terrific team. They've been a terrific team all year. So huge win there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but like you said, I mean, AJ Causey comes in and just does his thing. I mean, dude's 11-3 this year. He's been an absolute stud. I mean, he having a guy like him step up when a guy like AJ Russell's hurt is massive, massive, massive. And of course, like you said, Kavares. I mean, he hit the 3-run home run to really push this game out of coming back chance for A&M late in the game. So this was a huge win, and a lot of people should look at this and be like, okay, this team can hang around with these big teams. I mean, we beat Kentucky on the road, and you just you beat all these good SEC teams, and you're home for your regional and your super regional if you get there. So this team has a lot to look forward to. They just got to keep their head on straight, and it's just great things coming for these Vols.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about that game on Thursday night was that ever since they've gone with the Stamos starting or opening the game and then going to Kazi for the middle innings, Stamos has gradually started to pitch deeper and deeper into these games when he's given the opportunity. Now he's getting pretty consistently 3 innings, which is huge. I mean, because that would give Kazi a chance to start another game or come in relief if Tennessee really needed it come this weekend and beyond. So
yeah, and Causey, we all know he could go 6 innings easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've seen him go longer than that. So you're right. That's absolutely huge. Those two have been a dynamic duo. I don't think we've lost a game since they've done that, have they?
I can't think of one. I mean,
yeah, I think
they've ever since they've done that. I don't think they have lost a Friday night game.
Yeah, and that's absolutely massive. And a lot of teams, that haven't seen Causey pitch, people coming to Knoxville to play them, that's going to be a tough task to hit a guy like that. And it's going to come up huge for Tennessee to have him, because I'm assuming Stamos and AJ will probably be the first game, being that they'll be all rested up by this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Moving on to the next game, I mean, this to me is easily the most exciting game that Tennessee played.
Oh yeah.
Against Mississippi State, like Vols win 6-5 off a huge Blake Burke home run in the 8th inning to put them ahead for good. And then, but the biggest story, I mean, is obviously the little scuffle between
Chirping.
Christian Moore standing up for his coach is what it sounds like to me, just based on Tony's post-game comments. What were your thoughts on that?
I tweeted about it when it actually happened, but I do not like, I love the energy. I don't like, being that, I can't even think the word, but up front about it. You can't sacrifice a suspension, especially like Christian Moore. I mean, he is the leader of this team, and I love the energy. I love that he did that, but you got to be careful. We got lucky that no one got tossed, but you got to be real careful. But yeah, I love the energy. This game was an absolute pleasure to watch. Blake Burke comes up clutch after a kid says, "Hey, Blake Burke, you suck," and he hits a bomb over the Tennessee logo in right center field. I mean, you couldn't. That's picture perfect to me. And we got to shout out to Natalie Burke for giving us this physical specimen of Blake Burke.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing to me about the whole Christian Moore situation and whatever was going on with Mississippi State chirping Tony for whatever reason. I mean, Tony said it in his post-game comments. If his team was yelling at Arkansas's head coach, Dave Van Horn, and yelling Van Horn out there, or Dave, whatever they were yelling, I'm pretty sure that they were yelling Tony, whatever. Like, he would not let that happen. He would not let his players act that foolish. And it really doesn't surprise me that Christian Moore reacted in that way, but you're 100% right in that, like, you can't risk something like that and have a suspension, because if Tennessee were to lose that game and he had a suspension, it would be the first game of the regional if Tennessee lost that game. So it's not worth it. You're 100% right.
But you gotta love it. Hey, we got lucky, and you gotta love it.
Yeah, and then unless you have anything else on that Friday night game against Mississippi State, Nate Snead coming out of that bullpen with his hair on fire to close that game out, throwing 100 plus miles an hour. I mean, that was incredible. And then Tony's shoving him around in the post game huddle out there in left field. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you don't see from a lot of other programs, especially the coach getting in on the celebration and the hype stuff. I mean, it was beautiful.
Well, that's the one. I mean, he's my favorite player on this team, and not necessarily for his skill. It's just, dude, this kid comes to Tennessee for 1 year, and he absolutely loves it. I mean, the kid plays with so much passion every time he's on the mound. And is he perfect every time? No, but coming in these clutch situations, you know who he reminds me of? Chase Burns. The kid is an identical twin. It feels like the kid throws the same amount, throws the same speed, but he accepts the role of a reliever and comes in, and he just dominates when he comes out of the bullpen. And we asked him to throw. He started against Vanderbilt that one game, and he didn't throw well, but he comes into a game late in the game, and he just dominates. I mean, and he thrives off of it, and he loves Tennessee, and I love it. I love him.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's just the main point with that was the why I mentioned that is just it's so nice to see a team that loves each other that much, especially coach to players, players to coach, and it's just beautiful. I mean, because obviously Nate Snead had a little something extra on Friday night, and Tony appreciated it.
Absolutely. I mean, and we talked about it earlier, but another guy that stepped up and I think is going to be huge in the big tourney for Tennessee is Marcus Phillips. Had big 3 innings against Vanderbilt, and he got out of a lot of tough situations too. He had a bases loaded situation, and he got out of it, and he has a lot of momentum and confidence, going into this big tourney for Tennessee.
The Marcus Phillips. I mean, that's what Tennessee has been wanting out of Marcus Phillips this entire year. I mean, they've given him a lot of chances in the midweek, and it hasn't gone that well as it did on Saturday night against Vanderbilt the second time. And I mentioned this to you before we started here tonight. If Marcus Phillips doesn't go 3 innings, if they were forced to take him out, Tennessee probably doesn't win today because they would have had to spend at least another pitcher, if not 2, to get out of that game with a win. I mean, and also Tennessee might have been going home on Saturday night, losing to Vanderbilt for a third straight game. And also the attitude that Marcus Phillips had, chirping Vanderbilt. I mean, and Blake Burke escorting him off the field because he knows that that would not have ended well.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. 5'8" trying to talk smack to 6'4" Marcus Phillips.
Yeah, well, it's just Marcus Phillips is built like a tank. We all know that he can throw hard, and it was nice to see him finally put it together on Saturday night to defeat Vanderbilt in what completed the series for this year that Tennessee took 3-2. I mean, it would have been bad. It would have been bad for us as a fan base to lose to Vanderbilt 3 straight times, and I'm glad he came through.
Yeah, sent them packing and back to Nashville. But overall, this team, this whole tournament, this whole season, I mean, for the most part, have been absolutely clutch. I mean, we lost one SEC series this year against Alabama early in the year, and ever since then they've never looked back. This team looks really well put together. If we could get AJ Russell to full health, I'm telling you, I would not be afraid to say look out Omaha for the Vols. But after his outing today, it seemed like he was hurt again. I don't know if you saw that, but it didn't look like something you would want to see a guy coming back from.
Yeah. Yeah, but before we talk about that, though, I want to just mention Christian Moore's absolute piss missile over the batter's eye against Vanderbilt, which was the biggest hit of that game, that 3-run home run. And Tim Corbin, I mean, no nice guy, according to Vanderbilt fans, was just beside himself in the dugout. I mean, that was beautiful. But yes, about AJ Russell, I hope he's not injured because it's like I think we've said it a few times. If they have a chance at winning the national championship, you have to think that AJ Russell is going to factor in.
Yeah, and I think he's going to give it his all to be there for the team. I think, overall you're going to get an attempt for him to come back, but it's not risking his, major league status for, or his career in general if he's, hurt that bad. It just didn't look too promising when he's rubbing his elbow in the dugout. But you never know. I mean, it could just be he's just rubbing it. I don't know. Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee has won both SEC titles this year. They're going to be the number 1 overall seed in the big tournament. So without him, I still think Tennessee has a chance to secure that national championship. But it would be so much easier with him. But today, with Russell only going 1 inning, how about Dylan Loy going nearly 5 innings? And stepping up huge. Another guy who's performed mainly in the midweek this year. I mean, these are the kind of performances you need to win the SEC tournament, and Dylan Loy provided that for the Vols today.
Absolutely, and even in his midweek performances, he hasn't been, I wouldn't say he's been bad, but he hasn't been great. And he comes in this huge moment, SEC championship. And you come in and do that. I mean, you couldn't ask for more. He just played his heart out today. He was one of the guys that came in and just got out of jams that he did. I don't think Dylan Loy even got into a jam today. I think he, for the most part, was controlling the game really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think until the 9th inning, when LSU tried to come back, which they nearly did, thanks to Aaron Combs, they didn't. But until the 9th inning, I think LSU had less than 3 at-bats with the runner in scoring position. It might have been just 1. I mean, there was not much traffic on the bases today for LSU before the 9th inning, and Dylan Loy was a huge reason for that. And another guy I want to shout out as far as the pitching depth goes, Kirby Cannell pitched in 4 games out of the 5 Tennessee played down in Hoover this week. I mean, just an absolute Iron Man, a guy that you can call on to get big outs.
Oh yeah, and I expect to see him a lot come the rest of this postseason. He's the guy that he's been in these spots before, and he's someone you could definitely count on for to come up big in these regional, super regional, and even Omaha. So it's gonna be interesting to see Kirby perform at home too. We'll be at home this whole postseason, hopefully, until hopefully another appearance in Omaha.
Yeah, and Tennessee did get some help from. I mean, we said it before. The biggest play of the game today, Cal Stark picking off the runner at first with the bases loaded with 2 outs. I mean, if LSU gets a hit there, the whole complexion of that game changes. But they didn't, because Cal Stark is a defensive. I don't even know what word to use. He's just a defensive guru behind the plate.
Oh yeah, and he's been a better hitter this year. He hasn't been amazing, but he's been better than he was last year. And we obviously expected Cannon Peebles to be a little bit of a better hitter this, for us, but Cal Stark stepped up when he had to step up. He's just defensive wise, he is just an absolute stud behind the plate. And like you said, that saved us the game probably.
Yeah. I mean, Cal Stark, I've said it for a few weeks now. I mean, he gets on base and he provides that level of defense. I mean, you can't ask for much more out of a college catcher. And then I mentioned this player right off the top here tonight, Hunter Inslee. He gets moved up to 5th in the lineup going into the last regular season series of the year, batting 5th behind Dylan Dreiling. And then a week later, He's going 4 for 4 in the SEC tournament championship. Like, huge. If he can continue that, this lineup just gets even better going into the postseason.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a lot to look forward to with this baseball team. I think we're going to really enjoy and really have a good time this coming weekend. We'll be able to see who we get to play. We'll have another podcast on the whole regional bracket for Tennessee, and we'll see that come tomorrow. So they announced the host for the regionals already. Mm-hmm. So and Knoxville's obviously one of them. But you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 SEC hosts, and that's not including Oklahoma because they're not SEC yet in baseball. But if you include Oklahoma, that's 6 SEC teams hosting regionals, which says a lot. I mean, that's just a lot of good baseball teams that Tennessee has had to play.
It's absolutely unbelievable how good the SEC has been in baseball for the better part of a decade. Like it
ain't slowing down.
Oh yeah, like you just said, it's about to get even better. I mean, Texas, perennial Big 12 contender, Oklahoma as well. Like it's about to get even crazier, and that's why you might have 11 SEC teams make it this year. One being Florida, who is barely above 500. Like, it's astounding.
And we're going to see a lot of SEC teams in the regionals in general. I feel like you're only missing out on a couple teams.
I mean, you had a Vanderbilt. What they did this week punched them a ticket for sure. LSU punched their ticket for sure.
Georgia's going.
Yeah, South Carolina punched their ticket for sure. Like the teams that were on the bubble going into this that needed to win.
All got it.
I mean, and that's exactly what I'm sure. I'm not a huge fan of Greg Sankey because of the football officiating situation and a few other things, but I'm sure he was rubbing his hands together like this entire week. Like, that's exactly what you want as a commissioner. This is more exposure and money for the conference. And I mean, it's hard to rig baseball, but I'm sure that he would have.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, it's only getting better. And between football, baseball, and basketball getting to where it's at now, I mean, the SEC is where you want to be if you're an athlete.
It's a premier conference, man. And I see no signs of it slowing down in any sport. Oh, and one more thing about the game today, the championship clinching victory. Billy Amick, who had one hit this whole week, comes up with the biggest hit today for sure with a 3-run home run, which, you know, when a game's 4-3, a 3-run home run is pretty damn big. And he had been smoking the ball for the last 2 days, hadn't come up with a hit yet, and he finally got it today, man. Just an absolute clutch hit like Billy Amick is prone to do. And we've seen it a lot this year.
Now, I don't want to say what I'm seeing because I don't know if you're watching what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But Lady Vols, better keep an eye out. That's all I'm saying.
They're trying to make a rally. They're trying.
No outs. I don't know. I'm not watching it. But man on first and second, 4-1. All it takes is one swing. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, but yeah, baseball. We have a lot to look forward to. We'll talk about that more probably Tuesday on the regionals. But do you have anything else baseball related?
Just I've seen a lot like this entire week. People, even me, saying this tournament doesn't matter. Well, the reason Tennessee's about to be the number 1 overall seed is because of this tournament. I mean, if they were to have gone out in 2 games like Arkansas did, like Texas A&M did, it wouldn't have been a huge deal. But what Tennessee did got them the number 1 overall seed. And to people who say, well, we don't want the number 1 overall seed because it's been blah, blah, blah since they won the national championship, that's loser shit, okay? You want the easiest road. Simple as that. It's the same thing that people were talking about, like, do we really want the the 1 seed in basketball, yeah, we obviously wanted that because we had to run into Purdue. So, yes, you want the number 1 overall seed. Yes, the tournament matters. I mean, you now have 2 titles to add to the outfield wall.
Yeah, give me anybody. That's the attitude you need to have. I mean, and that's the attitude this team has. But we're obviously talking about, the fans on Twitter. But give me anybody. That has to be your attitude. The whole, this tournament doesn't matter. That's a loser's mentality. And it's okay if we lose. Like, who wants to lose? Go win the SEC championship. Go win a regional. Go win a super regional. Get to Omaha. Win the Natty. That needs to be in your head. That's it. Not this tournament don't matter. Trust me, I'm on your side with that. Like, that pissed me off more than anything is seeing people say, this doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. It absolutely does matter. Because what happens if you lose to Vanderbilt, then you lose to A&M? What kind of mindset is a team going to go into a regional with?
Not as good as the one that they'll have now.
Exactly. You just won the SEC championship. You're the best team in the SEC. Go take these whoever out because you could beat anybody in the country. You're the best team in the country.
They've proven it. I mean, you're absolutely 100% correct. And, especially on Wednesday night, I saw a lot of people saying that Vitello should be ashamed for not trying to win the game, which he obviously was not too concerned to win that game on Wednesday because he did not, I've already said it, he did not want to shake up the pitching. People saying that he wasted the fans' money and all this shit. What about now? We're hanging a banner now. Like, Tony Vitello's not an idiot. I mean, if we were in Vanderbilt situation, South Carolina situation, LSU situation, yes, you go ahead and start Stamos and Kazi. But we weren't. And that's why that happened on Wednesday night. That's if you want to add to that, go ahead. But I'll start cursing a lot if I keep going.
No, it's all good. I think Tony's going to prove it in the long run this year. He's just got to, keep these guys head on straight, and I think they got it. But yeah, I think we ended on that baseball wise. I think that's an excellent way to finish it. Winner's mentality. You go win it. You could beat anybody at any time. Just keep your head on straight, and they'll do it. But speaking of, Tennessee being an everything school, they secured the biggest guy so far in their transfer portal, Chaz Lanier. I mean, absolute beast of a basketball player and an absolute need for Tennessee. After losing, Dalton to the NBA, and I mean, he's an absolute stud to get. I mean, he averaged almost 20 a game, 5 rebounds, and shot 44% from 3 last year. I mean, he's a Tennessee boy. He's coming home. Another person to this stack. To me, I think Tennessee basketball will be better this year than it was last year.
I don't think it's a stretch at all to say that. I mean, Chaz Lanier he was actually the most efficient scorer last season in all of college basketball. Not just the Atlantic Sun, not just whatever. In all of college basketball, he was the most efficient scorer. And the other thing about that, we got him number 1 last year in offensive efficiency. Darling Stone Dubar, you know where he ranked in offensive efficiency, Jim?
4.
Yeah. Like, we're adding scores that are hyper efficient, put the ball in the basket at a really good clip. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of shots from those two that don't go in. That's all I'm going to say. And yeah, they very well could be better.
I think they are, like, for sure going to be better. I mean, the fact that you have Milicic that could spread the floor and hit the 3 like he can is awesome. Having Okpara as a main big man that is a rim protector and he can finish at the rim is gigantic. I mean, Adu is super soft. Don't get me wrong. I'm no hater for Adu, but he was soft. And it was like he was the reason why Tennessee didn't go deeper into the NCAA tournament, in my opinion. But Okpara is just adding another level of defense, and now adding Chaz. I think I kind of want to get your opinion on what you think the starting lineup's going to be.
I think me and you went back and forth a little bit a few weeks ago because I think Masak's going to be in the starting lineup. I just think the defense is at this point with him being an upperclassman, it's too hard to ignore. So I would say now Ziegler, Lanier, Masak, Milicic, Okpara.
See, the only thing I'm changing in that is Dubar. That's the only thing. And here's my reason to why I think Masak will come off the bench. Masak has always, because I still think he's going to get 25 plus minutes this year, but he has always been a high energy guy off the bench to come in and lock someone up on the defensive end. He's getting better on the offensive end. Obviously, he's going to be playing this summer and, getting better shooting wise and all that. But, absolute baller of an offensive guy Dubar is. I think you start him and Masak comes off the bench like 3 or 4 minutes into the game. But I think Masak's going to get a lot of playing time, more than he did last year. But I think you brought Dubar here for a reason. I think he's going to start.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see that viewpoint. The thing that it comes down to for me is that last year, once you got into from like the 15-minute mark to the 8-minute mark of a given half, the scoring dropped a little bit because you had to be resting Connect. You had to maybe give Ziegler a breather. You had to take out Josiah. I would rather have the scoring coming off the bench this year and see if that helps us more. That's my mindset on it. That's why I would like Dubar to come off the bench.
Well, and you know what? That's what the non-conference games are for. And Rick Barnes will figure out the best lineup there is starting wise, because either way, either one coming off the bench, they're going to, participate a lot in offense, defense, and all those situations. But that's the reason I say Tennessee's going to be better is like, dude, they have 9 shooters on this team between Sakai, Chaz, Milicic, Dubar, Jordan Gainey. I'm blanking because I'm not looking at the roster currently, but they have 9 guys that can spread the floor and hit shots. And it's going to be hard because last year, if you needed a guy to score, it was always get Dalton the ball. This year, it's who are you going to cover because you got Chaz, Sakai, you got all these guys that can hit shots. Who do you cover? Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of people have mentioned that it might help that you're not relying on one guy. When you have a team of shooters, when you have the open look, shoot it. Shoot the damn ball. Don't find the great wide hope in Dalton Connect and give it to him. Like, you don't have to do that if you have a team full of shooters. So that's the main argument for next year's edition of the Tennessee Volunteer Basketball Team to be better. And I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. Really look forward to next year.
All right, Jim, I'm going to break something down for you real quick. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Alabama leading Lady Vols softball 4-1. Bottom of the 7th inning, Kiki Malloy at the plate.
Oh, my God, dude.
If you want me to just talk everybody through it here, I'll do it.
I don't even want to, like it makes me want to throw up thinking about that whole situation because if one person was going to do it, it'd be her.
Well, she just grounded into an out at first base, so.
Oh, well, I take that back. I'm going to tell you right now.
You said it last week.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Say it. No, you say it. I mean, I did say it.
If you don't score runs, you're not going to beat anybody. Simple as that.
Well, I've always said that with this Lady Vol softball team. If they don't score 3 or more runs, they ain't going to win. And for some reason, this weekend, they couldn't hit nothing. They left 18 runners on base yesterday. They choked. They choked this whole thing. And honestly, I'm really surprised. I really thought they were going to win it all this year. The bats went cold at the wrong time. That's all. It's the only way you could put it.
Simple as that. I mean, it sucks even worse that it was to the damn Alabama Crimson Tide.
Good thing it's only Lady Vol softball.
Yeah, I mean, as good as they are, I mean, everybody would be lying to you if you said they're on a level playing field with some other sports there. So, good season, another SEC title, but that chapter of sports is closed this year for Tennessee. I wanted the last thing, unless you got something else, Jim, just get into some of these recruits we hosted over the weekend.
Oh, no, go for it. I mean, if you want to name them all, it might take a minute.
Let's go ahead and name them all. I mean, the one that I would be most thrilled to see commit, I might butcher his first name, but Jamie French, 5-star wide receiver. I mean, I think he's the reason that GMAC was in town this weekend as well. I mean, he would be massive. I mean, you already got an in-state wide receiver commit to go along with GMAC, but I mean, he would be a huge get, man.
Yeah, you got French Laganza. He's a really good 4-star athlete. He's there with them. What my biggest guy is David Sanders, 5-star plus offensive tackle, has been to Tennessee more than any school in his recruiting visits. And I'm pretty sure he's coming back again later on in the month, which is huge. But it's a main guy George McIntyre is trying to pick up. I mean, the dude's a stud. He really likes Tennessee, and I like where they sit. If I was listening to a podcast about him earlier, and they were all saying at halftime, if you're thinking of this as a basketball game, Tennessee's in the lead at half. I think Tennessee's in front in his recruiting trail. It's just, can they finish it out? And I feel like that's the whole spiel with all these guys. I think it's Tennessee's in the lead. It's just, can they finish it out? But French is going to be a hard pull. I mean, a lot of people think he's going to Texas, but they're definitely pushing hard for him.
Kelsey Pope, man. I wouldn't rule anything out with Kelsey Pope.
Oh, no. Yeah, he's been an absolute stud of a recruiter.
I mean, you got Matthews last year. We already got the in-state dude whose name is slipping my mind this year from Memphis. I mean, I wouldn't roll it out, but Sanders, yeah. I mean, come on. Anytime you can get a tackle to go with your 5-star stud, top 10 in the country quarterback, that would be incredible.
That's all George McIntyre's been hanging out with is David Sanders and French. I'm going to tell you that. We'll see. I mean, it's up to these coaches to really reel them in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you want to go over any other names? I mean, those were the two biggest. I mean, you had a few more, but like Onus, Conan Bonnie, corner, Jared Smith, defensive line, another offensive lineman. I think 2 more offensive linemen, actually. I mean, just so many people. I mean, it was probably the biggest recruiting weekend of the year so far for Tennessee. And once baseball ends, that'll be our main talking point here on the podcast. So stay tuned for that.
Well, that's the main thing. A lot of people, and we've talked about this before, but a lot of people don't realize, like, Josh Heupel's finally getting these recruits that he recruited to where they're starting to play, and they're just better football players all around. And it's the guys Josh Heupel wants. So it's just, look out for Tennessee football. I'm not saying they're going to do anything crazy this year. I mean, they could. I'm just not saying it right now, but they definitely could. But within the next coming years, you're going to see some really good Tennessee football teams.
Absolutely. I mean, you couldn't have said it better. I mean, once the coach who has brought us out of the ashes starts getting his players in there. I mean, he brought us out of the ashes with the people from Pruitt who wanted to stick around, which respect to all those kids. But
they weren't as talented as these kids. That's,
yeah,
that's just true.
Absolutely. And you said something earlier when we first started talking about the recruiting. You know, we're in the lead for a lot of these guys at this point, but we just got to close. And so far, with Josh Heupel and recruiting, that's been the main knock. We've lost out on a few guys at the very end, and it would be nice to see us close at a higher rate this cycle than we have in the previous few years.
Yeah, and I always listen to Austin Price, and he says it perfectly. I mean, no school is going to get every recruit that they want. I mean, it's just not going to happen. But you have to land your share. But guys like David Sanders, you're in the lead right now, and you just got to close because that's a massive get. French would be a massive get. Laganza would be a massive get. It's just you just got to close, and we'll see. I mean, they started last year with getting Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley. I mean, they're getting these guys, and we're getting a lot of good offensive linemen. If anyone hasn't noticed, you're getting a guy like David Sanders, Matthews from New Jersey. He's a big boy. I think Tennessee's in the lead for him as well. He should be committing within the next month. So it's all up for Tennessee football.
Absolutely. And I can't wait for, late July, early August when fall camp roars up, and that'll be what we're talking about, man. But for now, let's go win a damn natty. We've already hung 2 banners this year. Let's hang that final one.
You're talking about Vitello, ain't you?
Oh, hell yeah. And
Vitello, hey, last thing before we end this, do you consider Tony Vitello to be the greatest coach since Pat Summitt at Tennessee?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's even arguable. I mean, it's like if Josh Heupel made the college football playoff 2 out of 3 years, and he's about to embark on another run at it. It's like if Rick Barnes made the Final Four 2 out of 3 years, and he's about to embark on another run at it. I mean, I don't think that's even debatable.
Well, I was going to say I can't. I agree. I think if you're Danny White and anything comes up, you throw a blank check at this dude because
I agree.
He is going to keep Tennessee good as long as he's here.
Absolutely.
So, but we'll end it on that, man. We'll be back within the next day or maybe 2. We're going to talk regional stuff and potential super regional stuff once we get the actual teams we're facing. But we'll be in Knoxville this weekend, and hopefully they could get to a super regional and stay in Knoxville for another week.
Absolutely, man.
All right.
I'll say it first.
With your deep breath, I thought that's what you were doing.
I'm sorry. I screwed it up. Go Vols, baby.
Go Vols.